Hi, folks. How are you all today? Um, Again, back with another new video. In this new video, we'll be understanding about what are functions, right? So, today's topic is going to be about functions. Yeah, if you have not been watching my previous videos yet, so please do go back to my channel, Folks Hub. Open the playlist Applab and do watch all those videos in a sequence, and then you can come back to games, patterns, or programming concepts. Yes, you can absolutely start off with programming concepts videos also. Okay, but yes, whatever you're watching, you please do watch all of them in a sequence so that you understand the content better. Okay, so yeah, functions are something where we've already discussed about this before in our videos, right? So yes, if you have not been checking those, right, please do go back and check those, right? So yes, but still we're going to discuss about functions in detail in our today's session, right? So let's not delay anymore, right? Before that, I would also like to tell you guys that if you have any questions, please do comment in the comment sections below so that I can just get back to you if you have any questions, right? So if you are doing these projects along with me, yes, you can absolutely share those links with me so that I can check them all out, right? Yes. So I will be waiting for your response. Okay. Now, starting off with our today's video, which is functions, right? So function, when I just say function, right? So what comes to your mind is like we have already discussed. No? So based on that, what should come to your mind is it should do some specific task for us, right? Yes, it is absolutely like that. Okay. So a function is something. Let me just write this for you. So functions are blocks of code which can perform a specific task for us. Okay, specific task, right? So this is how it is, and I'm just going to increase the size a little bit. I think this should work. Yeah. Okay. So functions are blocks of code which can perform a specific task. Okay. So then, what is this like blocks of code which can perform a specific task? It's just like, I'll just give you a very small basic example. Okay. Like we all eat, right? We all eat food, correct? So, do you take anyone's help to eat food? No, right? So it happens on its own. Like when you are hungry, you just go grab some food and start eating. That's it, right? So no one need to teach you how to do it right now. At least now, no one is teaching you how to do it daily, right? So it has been taught some other day when you were young, and now it is very much simple for you. You just go start eating, right? No one is coming and training you to do the same, right? How is that happening? Like why there is no training required for you? It's just because of this thing. What, you already have this pre-coded in your mind, right? So you have to eat something like this. There is some um, algorithm which is actually working in your mind, right? So you know how to eat and you just start off eating it, doing the same thing, right? You know, brushing your teeth, right? You know how to brush. So you start off directly doing that, right? No one again needs to teach you how to brush again and again daily, right? This is not happening. It is only done once when you're young, and after that, from then on, you've been doing it on your own because it is actually pre-coded, and you're just running the same algorithm again and again in your brain so that you can do that task. Okay, so it's something similar like functions, right? So function, you'll just write the code once and use it multiple times whenever you want, again and again. Okay, it's not like you're teaching it again and again. Okay, it's not like you're writing the code multiple times again and again in the program. Okay, you'll just write it once and you will use it multiple times. Okay, it's like almost infinite times you can call your function whenever you want and wherever you want. Okay, so functions are written once and called multiple times, right? It can be infinite times also. Okay, it's like multiple times is maybe 10 times, 20 times, 100 times, 1000 times, 1 lakh, 10 lakh, whatever it is. Okay, so functions are written once and used or called multiple times, right? So basically we define a function, we say it like this, right? We define a function, and then to use it we say we have to call the function. We here are programmers, right? So programmers say calling a function when when you're using it. Okay, so functions are a small piece of code, okay, which can perform a specific task, right? And they're only written once and they can be used multiple times. Okay, so we define a function once and it can be called any number of times anywhere in your program. Okay, so we can call a function, sorry, we can call a function anytime and anywhere in the program. Okay, so this is how it is, right? And why functions are used, right? So functions are used because they make your code readable. They make our code readable. First thing, the very first thing is they make our code readable. Okay, what do I mean by readable is, like we have thousands lines of code, let's suppose, right? So all those thousand lines of code, really, not necessarily you have to have all those thousand lines in the same sequence which you wrote, right? So sometimes there can be a thing which is repeatedly written again and again. Okay, let's suppose you're drawing 100 squares in a program. Okay, and all those 100 squares, let's suppose for drawing one square you have 8 instructions. Okay, I'll do one thing, I'll just write it for you so that you can understand this better now. So you have 1000 lines of code. Okay, among these thousand lines of code, you have to create 100 squares, right? And for each square you're writing 8 lines of code, let's suppose. Okay, 8 lines of code. That means just think of it, for drawing one square you're writing 8 lines, for drawing 100 squares you should be writing 800 lines of code, right? Which is unnecessarily happening, which is not necessary at all, right? So even with 4 lines or 8 lines of code, that can be possible to draw 100 squares, right? How is it possible with 8 lines of code, with just 8 lines of code? It's because of functions. You can use functions for it, right? So you define a function to draw a square once, okay? You call it 100 times. Who's saying no, right? So you can absolutely call it 100 times within 4 lines also, using a loop again, right? So we have discussed about loops in our previous videos. If you have not been watching my series, then please do go back and check them. Okay. So using loop, you can call it 100 times, 1000 times, 10,000, 1 lakh times also, right? Again, within few lines of code itself, right? So within mostly 12 to 15 lines of code, you can absolutely replace 800 lines here, right? So this is very simple, right? It is absolutely making your code readable then, correct? It's not messing your code up. It is making it much more easy for anyone to read. Okay, so that's why we say functions are used, because they make our code readable. Okay, and the next thing, we can use a function. They are used multiple times in a program, right? So they are called multiple times in a program. Write once, call multiple times principle they follow. Okay, and they are also used to reuse the code. Okay, to reuse the code. So what do I mean reusing the code? Like we were discussing right now, we are creating a function once. Okay, so that means like you are drawing a square using the function, right? So that drawing thing is happening multiple times, so you need not write the same code again and again now. So you're already using the code which is pre-written for you. Okay, so that's how we say like they are used to reuse the code, right? And what can functions do is, so you'll just specify one function name, right? Functions just need to have a name, okay? Functions need to have a specific name, and using that name, you will call it, okay? Or you'll call it, I mean to say, you'll use it, right? So let's see the syntax first, okay? Syntax of defining a function. Now, so if I say function, and then let's suppose we'll say square itself, right? Draw square. Okay. I'm just opening and closing the parenthesis. If you want, you can also pass parameters into it. We'll discuss about it in a little while now. So yes, this is how you can start defining your function, right? So this is the function definition. Function keyword is used to write function, and then you have the name of the function, which is draw square. After the name of the function, you definitely have to write parenthesis, okay? And then you'll open curly brackets to start writing whatever you want to write within this, okay? This is how a function is defined in javascript mostly, okay? So this is function definition. Again, um, let's discuss about types of functions also, okay? So let me just, yes. So let's start off. So types of functions, right? There are again few types of functions like so first one will be predefined functions. Okay, predefined functions. Next one. So predefined functions are nothing but the functions which are already defined. You're just using the name of the function to call it and like forgetting the functionality of it. Okay. So predefined functions. Next is custom functions, right? Customized functions. Customized functions, or you can say user defined functions. Okay, you can call it anyway, but yeah. So predefined are already defined. User defined are defined by users. That means programmers, right? So we define those functions. Okay. There are like these two are the basic types, basically, right? But still, we have event-driven functions also. Okay. Event-driven functions are something like functions only, basically, right? So they can be predefined, or you also can define them. So it again depends. Okay, what kind of event driven function you're using. So yes, event driven functions are driven by events basically. Okay, so what does this mean? I'll give you a small example here. Now let's suppose when the space is clicked, then a character has to jump. Like this is our scenario, right? So when space button is clicked, then your character has to jump. So your space button click is the event, right? You click on the space button, then something is happening, correct? So in this case, you will be using a function to write it, right? So to write what happens when you click on the space button, whatever is happening, to write that you'll use a function. So this became the event driven function, right? Like if you have been watching my series, we have been using on event, correct? In the Applab. So to handle what kind of events we use on event, all kinds of events, right? Like basically key press events, click events, change events, input events. For all kinds of events, we used to have on event, right? Beside that, we used to write a function if you remember, correct? So why do we used to write that function? That is an event-driven function basically. Like when that event occurs, then something is happening, and that's happening because of we wrote that function, right? So that's because of that. Okay, so those are called as event driven functions, right? And yes, predefined functions, like you should be knowing about so many predefined functions now because we have been doing so many programs so far in Applab also, right? So you have like functions like math functions. In math category you should have so many functions there, right? Even timed loop we used, and we have multiple functions like creating a text box in Applab. I'm actually specifically speaking about Applab here. So in Applab we have functions for creating the components like button, label, text input, and so many like these, right? So to set the property we have set property and all, and to set the positions we have set position, and for RGB you have one, correct, for setting the colors basically. So all these are predefined functions which you're using directly. Okay, in game lab if you have to specify, you have function draw. This is a predefined function. Draw sprites, play sound, stop sound, play speech, key down. All these are functions only. Okay, again, these are not functions like this frame rate, frame count, seconds. So these do not have parentheses after them, right? So these are not functions. The ones which have parentheses after them, those can be called as functions basically. Okay, those are functions mostly, right? So you can see on, off is active, and yeah, in this we have these functions. Then in groups you should have so many, in sprites you should have so many functions likewise. Okay, so all these are predefined functions which are written by someone else. We are just using the names of them to directly use them. Okay, so those are predefined functions. And then customized functions are like I wrote this one, right? Function draw square. This is a customized function now because whatever I want to do, I will write in this one. I can just write a return statement also in this function draw square because I am writing it. I will define it on my own terms, correct? So that is what happens with user defined functions and predefined functions. Okay. So then what next? Actually, not only these three types of functions are there. Again, functions can be divided into something like based on the parameters, we can actually define functions, right? So, like categorize them, not define, categorize them based on the parameters again. Okay. So, based on parameters, if I have to tell you, there are few function types again. Okay. So, first one will be parameterized function. Parameterized function. Next one will be non-parameterized function, right? So what is this again now, right? So what is this? Parameterized function is nothing but it's like a function which has parameters in it. Okay. What are parameters? The arguments which you're passing into your function are called as parameters. Okay. Okay. Now, so now you should be getting confused, right? Don't worry. I will write the syntax for you. Okay. So let's write the syntax. So again, nothing much. So it's like function. Then you'll write the name of the function. Okay. So let's write draw square. Let's suppose I want to pass the length of the square inside this one directly. Okay. Then I should pass some number, right? So that number I'm passing, or else you can say length itself, length, right? And then whatever I want, I will be writing inside this one now. Okay. So your length became the argument. Okay. We say this as argument. Whenever you're passing the value, you will say parameter. Okay. So like for suppose I want to call this function now. How do I call a function? I'll just write the name of the function to call it like this. So draw square. I'm sorry about this. So it's UARE, right? So it's draw square. And then let's suppose I want to pass the length is 10. Okay, it went into insert. So I'm writing 10. What? Okay. That's because of numlock. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, this is how we call a function draw square of 10. Okay. So this becomes the parameter now. 10 is first parameter of the function, right? We only have one. If you have multiple, then this becomes the first parameter, right? So inside the function definition, if you write something, so that becomes the first argument here, right? And if you pass a value for in place of that argument, that becomes a parameter. Okay. So now function draw square is a single parameter function, right? So it only has one parameter in it. Okay. Now You can have multiple parameters also. Like, let's suppose I have breadth also. Okay, I want to give breadth also because I want to draw a rectangle, let's suppose, using this one. So then I will have breadth. So definitely this should have the second value also, right? So this becomes a two parameter function now. Okay. So these are two arguments and these are two parameters. Okay. Non-parameterized is this function simply. It doesn't have any parameters in it, right? We need not pass any value to use this function. It's like without a value you can use it. Okay, so this is how it is. And functions actually have return values also. Functions can actually return few values for you. Okay, so based on the like function you're using, right? So functions will return values also. Functions can return values, right? So using return keyword, we will be returning the values, right? Using return keyword. Actually, return is a function, we can say. Okay, it returns the values basically, right? And yes, functions can be written anywhere below the program, right? After the program, you can write functions. After the program, we can write functions. Okay. So in the beginning or at the end, mostly a good programming practice is always writing a function at the end of the program is the best, right? Because they do not come in between, and you need not again like see the flow of the program is not disturbed while you're writing the functions, right? Because they'll be absolutely outside your main program. Okay, so that's how it actually masks all of it. We can also almost like similar to abstraction. You're abstracting the code from the main program basically, right? You're abstracting that code and you're placing it somewhere else, right? So why some elsewhere? Just because it is making your code readable. Okay, and yes, so this is all about functions. Okay, so we just spoke about functions here, right? We have not really created any function yet, right? So let's do it. Okay, okay, let's write function. I will just say add. This is like one of the, what do I call, it's like it's a legacy, right? I mean, whoever gives or explains about functions, we mostly do add addition thing only. So I'm just writing it here. Okay, so it's not necessarily that you have to do it in the same way. Okay, I'm already giving this function definition here, function add, and I'm writing something in this so that it can add those values, right? So now to use function definition is not enough. I'm telling you, you definitely have to call the function. Only then it is used, right? Only then you will see the output on the console screen like this. Okay, so you definitely have to write the function definition, then call it some elsewhere so that you can actually use it. Okay, now this is a non-parameterized function, right? So let's create one which has parameters in it, right? So I'm just writing n1 comma n2 because I only want to add two numbers here. Okay. So console.log, I will say n1 plus n2. Okay. So this is a function where you're only adding 12 plus 20 and there's no other choice for the user to give the numbers, right? On his own, he can't really give any number, right? But here I can write add first time. For the first time, I can say one, like some different combination of numbers. For the second time, if I'm calling, I can give another combination of numbers. Okay. If I'm calling it for the third time, I can give some other combination of numbers. Okay. And it's absolutely up to you how many number of times you're calling it, right? Function itself is used in the same way and it is absolutely created for this reason, correct? You can write it once and you can use it multiple number of times in your program. Okay, it's not limited, right? So let's reset and run this program. You will see, just a second. Okay, I'm creating same function, right? So that's why it's getting confused. So what I will do, I'll write one here, I will write one here. Okay, I'm so sorry about that. Let's reset and run. Yeah, Oh, come on. This is a very silly mistake. I have to use comma because these are two parameters, right? Okay, I was just telling you, and I just added the same, added these numbers now. Okay, okay, okay. So it's 1 plus 3, 4, 5 plus 6, 11, 10 plus 20, 30, right? So yeah, I was just saying addition and addition. I just wrote plus instead. You have to pass parameters by separating them with a comma. Okay, please don't do this kind of a silly mistake at your side. Okay, I was into the explanation, so I could not recognize that I did this. Sorry, realize this, right? Okay, so pardon from my side, and yeah, I hope you understood how functions work, right? That's what is our main agenda is. Okay, so yes, this is all about our today's session functions. Okay, I'll be just renaming this as functions, and I'll just give you this link. If you want, you can use it, or yeah, you can absolutely create a new project. I have not written anything more here. It's very simple and basic things we have just discussed, right? Yes. Okay. So let's meet in the next session again with another concept or a pattern. Okay. I mean, now it's a surprise for me and you guys, right? So when the video comes, you should be seeing what exactly came up, right, today. Okay. All right then. Until my next video, you know what you have to do. You just have to watch all my videos in sequence, right? Go through all the playlists. There are very informative sessions. There are fun sessions, right? So if you're not understanding anything, please do comment in the comment section below. Okay, I'm very happy to help you all out there, right? And coming coming back, so please do like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel, Fox Hub, right? So bye bye, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, all.